Knon 89.3 FM in Dallas and Fort Worth, the voice of the people.
Business owners, tell KNON's listeners about your business. You can put your business or event on KNON. KNON currently has space available to run announcements for you. Tell KNON's listeners about your goods, services, nightclub, concert, or event. Help keep the voice of the people on the air while putting your information on the air. KNON's been named the #1 radio station in Dallas by both the Dallas Observer and D Magazine. Put your business with Dallas's #1 station. Call now for more information at 214-828-9500, extension 227, or extension 233. For more information, go to knon.org and click on the Run Spots on KNON page. It's a great way for your business to support community radio while letting more people know about you.
Good morning. It's Bonnie Mathias. This is the Workers Beat, 972-647-1893. We don't have a Gene this week, so I have Stephanie, and I'm not even attempting it. Last name with Workers Defense Project. She is incredible. She and I actually met a few weeks ago in San Antonio at a Community Labor Leadership Institute that was put on by AFL-CIO. Incredible 2 days. Mm-hmm. Just really, really intense, and we got a plan.
We're doing things.
We're doing things. And I hope other people are ready to get up and do things too, because this is not going to happen on its own. And it will be televised, but you really need to get up off your butt and be a part of it, and don't sit back and watch TV. Today, we are going to be having a really cool rally. The Workers Defense Project is here in Dallas. They've been here in Dallas for a while working on different projects, but Gables Properties, Gables Residential, is a developer who is building complexes pretty much all over. We have about 50 properties, I think, here in Texas. There's an active construction site here on McKinney Avenue. Guys, the subcontractors for Gables, they don't pay these guys what they're supposed to. They aren't providing safe working conditions. I think a man crushed both of his hands, fractured both of his hands working on the job site, and he is still undergoing surgeries. This was in April. He's unable to work. There's no workman's comp on the job site because, of course, in Texas it's not required. So here's this man, he can't work because his hands are broken. There's some chance he'll never be able to work again. I think his son is going to speak today.
Mm-hmm, he is.
Awesome.
Yeah, so my name is Stephanie Garakani, and I'm with Workers Defense Project. And as Bonnie was mentioning, we have a really exciting rally happening this morning. It's happening at Cole Park at 11 a.m., and we will be gathering with our members, with our labor allies like Bonnie, with members of the faith community, to call on Gables Residential to improve conditions in its subcontracting chain.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. And this is all over the country. They're doing this all in all their properties. There is no accountability with the developer here, with the conditions that their subcontractors are forcing on these workers. And I don't really care what you think about immigration, quite frankly, because we're not going to discuss that on this show today. We're talking about human rights, okay? Every day you go to work, you have the right to be in a safe environment so that you know you're going to go home to your family that night. Is that right?
That's true. As you were mentioning, Bonnie, so we, at Workers Defense Project, we provide a lot of services. A lot of what we do is direct services. So we have offices in Dallas, we have offices in Austin, and workers come to us every single week reporting wage theft, reporting unsafe working conditions on the job, reporting that they've been injured at work. And over the last 5 years, we have received more reports of violations from workers who have been on the sites of Gables Residential than workers who have been on the sites of any other developer. And so, part of this campaign is really saying to Gables as the developer, as the owner who is developing these properties, you have a responsibility to ensure that certain basic standards are met on your projects. And so we at Workers Defense have something called the Better Builder program, where we sign agreements with developers in which we ask that developers agree to certain basic wage standards, certain basic safety standards.
Like water.
Yeah.
And,
we want
bathroom breaks, just little minor stuff like that.
We want to make sure that workers are receiving a fair wage. We want to make sure that workers on construction sites are receiving workers' comp, because at least in Texas, we know that construction is the most deadly industry in Texas than it is in the country. More workers die in construction in Texas than anywhere else in the country. So
and that's not just because Texas is bigger.
It's not. It's per capita. And
right.
We're the only state in the country that doesn't require workers' comp, even in an incredibly dangerous industry like construction. So we're asking Gables to take responsibility for the conditions on its work sites and make sure that the workers in its contracting chains receive fair wages, safety protections, adequate training, really basic stuff.
Yeah, that is really basic stuff. So if you have an opinion, you want to talk to us, maybe tell a story that you experienced or a friend experienced on a job site, 972-647-1893. And as Gene always says, this station loves it when you call. And I love it when you call too. This is such a huge bone of contention with me. I'm over safety and health at CWA Local 6215, and we go after AT&T all the time because of safety violations. And we have been very blessed to have OSHA folks here in Dallas that have really helped us and worked with us and has managed to help get some things changed. But subcontractors, they're not going to call OSHA if there's been an accident on the job, even though that is a requirement. But they'll probably just send the guy on his way. And
I think what we see in construction is because we're dealing with such a long subcontracting chain, it is so easy for people to evade responsibility. And so part of our campaign with Gables is really to say, Gables, you are at the top of this chain. You are the owner. You are the developer. The buck stops with you, and you get to set the tone for the standards that will be met on your work sites. Everyone, all of your subcontractors are accountable to you. So set the standards high. Say that you want basic things like workers' comp, you want basic things like fair wages, that you're going to enforce those standards throughout your subcontracting chain.
Now, have you had success with getting builders and developers on board with this?
We have had success. This is definitely the biggest campaign that we have launched to date, but we have signed agreements with different developers. We signed agreements with some developers in Austin, Foundation Communities, the Pflugerville Development Corporation in Austin. Apple came to Austin a couple years ago wanting to build a huge campus in North Austin, and working with the city of Austin. Apple's also has agreed to meet some of these basic standards and are letting Workers Defense Project representatives monitor their construction sites to make sure that those standards are met.
Way to go, man. That's awesome.
I know.
That is so cool. So where is Gables' corporate headquarters?
So their headquarters is in Atlanta, but their CEO
lives here?
She lives here.
Oh,
here in Dallas.
Oh, nice. Have we visited her house yet?
So we haven't visited her house, but we sent a group of friends to visit her offices yesterday.
Okay.
There was a group of some faith allies, some supporters, some of our worker leaders with Workers Defense who paid a visit to their corporate offices here in Dallas.
Excellent.
And we delivered a petition that's asking Gables to sign on to Workers Defense Project's Better Builder program. And so far it has close to 900 signatures, and we paid a little visit and delivered those signatures yesterday.
Excellent. Well, we have a caller on line 3, Deborah. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you this morning?
Wonderful, thanks. How are you?
I'm doing good. I was listening in, and it was very interesting. The young lady that's on there with you, I just turned to your station. So forgive me if I don't know names.
That's okay. It's Stephanie.
I just tuned in, and I want to talk fast, but I know somebody else is probably trying to call or whatever. But anyway, I was listening, and she was talking about how they are implementing with a lot of these companies, construction companies, that they should pay the workers, adequate pay, and make sure that it's as safe as possible for them.
Right.
And I wanted to ask her if there's any known organization or group that is doing that for drivers, because I feel that drivers they're working in just as dangerous, just as a dangerous arena as construction, because we're on the road constantly. We pay so much for our license and DOT. We go through a lot of different things. But when we go to get a job, they're offering us minimum wage, which is like below the belt. So, and I know a few workers that have gotten sick and was out of work for a month or so, and after a month, they exonerated everything that they had, and they were like really almost homeless, and that's really sad, because without people that's driving, people are not getting to where they need to be. Food, groceries, all of those things are not being transported. The wages for drivers is so below the belt. It's sad.
It is very sad.
So at Workers Defense Project, we focus on the construction industry because the majority of our members do work in construction. But, I hear you. I think that when we're talking about the wages that the majority of America's workers are earning today, when we talk about safety conditions on the job, we know that we can do better in a lot of industries.
Well, basically what I wanted to ask you is, do you know of any program that stands in for drivers, that look out for drivers?
Teamsters?
That's what I was asking.
Yeah. There's a Teamsters local on 175. It's Teamsters Local 745. They represent a lot of truck drivers and dock workers. I would really recommend giving them a ring and seeing if they know somebody, or maybe they can talk to you all about organizing.
Oh, okay.
Okay, but they're good. They are good folks. Let me tell you, they are awesome folks. And they will, if they know how to help you, they certainly will. They'll let you know.
Awesome.
Okay.
Well, you guys have a wonderful morning.
Thank you, Deborah. Thanks for calling. Have a great day. So we, at 11 o'clock, when we get off here, we are going to 4000 Cole Avenue, which is Cole Park, right?
That's right. And we're going to have a rally.
I'm excited. I love rallies. I love protesting. Maybe that's just kind of the nature of the movement.
So we're going to have a public rally where we are inviting any supporters to come out, and really we're just publicly going to be asking Gables again that we want them to join our Better Builder program and work with us to improve the conditions on their work sites. So we are going to have some pretty incredible speakers. I know that you will be speaking.
I will.
Some of our members who have worked on Gables sites will also be speaking and will be sharing their stories. One of the folks who will be speaking is the son of the construction worker from here in Dallas who was recently injured on a Gables construction site in early April. And he did, so his father was hoping to be able to come out, but like you mentioned, he actually has still had some surgeries. He had 3 surgeries just this past week. And we know that there is an ongoing OSHA investigation into that incident. So, we're hopeful to see. And
it would be so much easier for Gables Residential to just sign on and make sure that their subcontractors supply the basic needs of their workers, including workers' compensation. Believe me, they really will save a lot of money and a lot of headache if they'll just do that, because I know the OSHA inspectors here locally, and they don't like it when workers get hurt. They really don't. So I'm just saying.
And like you were saying, Bonnie, we know that Gables has about 50 properties in Texas. They're planning on building more. And really, we think if you want to build in Texas, then you need to invest in the workforce in Texas. And that means that you really need to take responsibility and make sure that certain standards are being upheld on your construction sites. And really, this is about making sure that not only that working folks are protected, that parents can go home safe to their kids at the end of the day, that people are receiving an honest pay for an honest day's work, but it's also about making sure that honest businesses can actually compete.
Thrive and compete.
We really see a race to the bottom, especially in the construction industry, where subcontractors are trying to basically to squeeze profits at every single level of the subcontracting chain, and that means that it's really the workers who are getting the short end of the stick.
As usual, everything falls on labor. Mm-hmm. And it's, people talk about labor. Well, that's just the unions. No, it's not. Labor is working families. I don't care if you work in a restaurant carrying a tray or bussing tables or hitting nails all day long with a hammer or working on a telephone line. You are laboring. That makes you a labor person. If you are working to support your family, you are part of labor. And this movement has to be all of us together. 972-647-1893. I mean, that's what we talked about at the CLLI a few weeks ago, was how important it is for community organizations and labor organizations to reach out to one another and work together, because we all on the skateboard together, and so we really all need to be pushing in the same direction, and that would be forward. So all you folks that are out there trying to move the other direction, get the hell off the skateboard. We'll be right back. Saturday morning, that's right, with the Workers Beat. Bonnie Mathias, 972-647-1893. We are talking about the rally today that will take place at 11 a.m. At Cole Park. That's at 4000 Cole Avenue. It's right there in Uptown. I think it's real close to their little... to the Gables residential.
Their McKinney construction.
Oh, how cool is that?
Street. It's pretty close by.
Wow, awesome. So we can go by and talk to the workers and say, hey, look what we're doing for you. Gables Residential has got 50 properties. They have full intentions of building more properties in Texas. Folks, there's a building boom in Dallas. You cannot, in North Texas. You cannot deny that. There's cranes everywhere. But don't you want to make sure that these people go home every night in one piece to their families like you do? Folks don't really ask for a lot on the job when you're starting at the bottom, but there's some basic rights that they have. Clean drinking water, breaks, safe working conditions, that does include water, fair wages, and, some training, adequate training to be able to do the job safely. I mean, that's what it's all about. It's not that big of a deal.
Yeah, we know, at least in Dallas, that 1 in 4 workers who work in construction have experienced wage theft. Meaning there's been a time in which they haven't received the wages that they were expecting, or they just have not been paid for their work. And you can only imagine what it must be like at the end of the week to just have worked all week and not receive your paycheck or receive a paycheck that doesn't actually reflect the amount of time that you worked, the amount of work that you put in, and then to go home to your family and to know that you have all of these responsibilities at home and all of these bills to pay. And so this is all about just making sure that those practices stop happening in this industry, and that developers like Gables take responsibility and really commit themselves to improving the construction industry in Texas.
Well, and it would behoove them to do so, because I would assume happy workers actually do better work.
They do, and
what a novel concept.
And, in our experience at Workers Defense, we found that contractors who invest in their people, who invest in their workers, who pay them a fair wage, who provide them with workers' compensation, also produce better quality work.
Shocking. So, do you want to live in a property that was built by subcontractors that don't give a damn about their employees? Or would you like to live in a complex where it's built with laborers that actually are happy and know what they're doing?
And are, protected on the job.
Yeah.
It's really funny. So Gable's motto is taking care of the way people live.
No.
And so we're really just asking that they also take care of the way that the construction workers who are building their properties live.
I mean, taking care of the way you live, that's really nice. But if you have unsafe properties, you're not taking care of people where they live. Just because and trust me, these folks that are working on the job, they ain't going to be able to afford to live at the Gables, just so you know. I think if you figured out the location of the property, you probably already knew that, but just wanted to reiterate that. These folks are not going to be able to afford to live there. I have, is it WC? Yeah. Okay, WC is on line 4. Good morning.
Good morning. I've been in the construction business for most of my working life. Not at this particular moment, but I think I have some insights into the situation that you're discussing. And, everything that you're saying is correct in that from the corporate side of the equation on down, it should have some common values there that ensure basic human rights in the process. And unfortunately, the way it's structured, it's just the opposite. That they are looking to get their product for the lowest possible price that they can. Mm-hmm. And the way the construction industry is the way competitive bidding is that the job goes to the lowest bidder that can get the job done. And so there was a comment made earlier about the race to the bottom. Well, that's kind of what you wind up with in that scenario, that the owner's trying to maximize the dollars that they get for the dollars spent, and it winds up being the workers that pay the price. Now, there's minimum standards for that OSHA, and they have to meet OSHA regulations. They have to have insurance. They can't work without insurance. But beyond that, the wages it's all based on competition, being able to get the job. And the way the economy's been, there are people out there working for almost nothing just to get the jobs.
That's right.
Yeah, thank you for your comments, WC. I think what we have seen is that once we sign these agreements with developers, when they are hiring general contractors and when those general contractors are then hiring subs, there is, a very defined, there's defined standards that are going out in the bid specs. So, for instance, the developer is telling to their GC, these are the standards that we're expecting. The GC, when they're contracting with subcontractors, are saying, we want your bids, but we want bids that are based on these minimum standards. So we want bids that reflect all of your workers receiving workers' compensation, all of your workers receiving, a certain wage floor, etc. So that's how, that's really how those standards end up trickling down a subcontracting chain.
Right. Well, and basically, the way the corporate model exists in this country, why would any corporate entity willingly give up part of the profits that they expect to make on a project, unless they're forced to? By, the only thing that a person working for a wage has is their labor.
That's it. That's right.
And until they get to a point where they're organized and are able to apply pressure to withhold that essential component, then they have no leverage. It's every man for themselves.
Yeah.
And that's what you see now, and that's why there are these problems. Now, construction is a dangerous business. I don't care how you slice it. It always has been and always will be, because it's inherently, there's just a lot of opportunities for accidents to happen. Not that it's intentional or egregious in the way it happens. It's just there's a lot of ways people can get hurt.
Yes.
And so, that's why OSHA exists. That's why, there's minimum standards that have to be made, to be met, rather. But, you can't always prevent accidents. Now, you can take a stance of being as proactive as you can in trying to prevent them, and that's as it should be. But there again, there's always that pressure to cut corners and able to get the job to stay in business, you know?
Right. And
that's where you run into problems.
Right. And it all boils down to greed, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, that's absolutely right. I mean, that is the corporate model that we exist under. I hate to say it, but I mean, that's the common denominator that we're working with.
It is. It is. But you know what, W? If the 99% vote, the 1% ain't going to matter. So, and I just keep saying that, because we have to take this to the legislature next year. We have got to get some minimum standards into, of course, now that we have the Tea partiers going to Austin, it's going to be tough. It's going to be damn tough.
I think too, construction is an inherently dangerous industry, but there's also reasons why the conditions that we see in Texas are so much more atrocious than they are across the country. Right. Yeah. And so, and the pressures of a subcontracting chain exist in New York, they exist in California as well, but in those places we don't see the same rates of injury, the same rates of accidents, the same rates of wage theft as we see here in Texas. Of course, markets do what they will, but really the reason why we organize and the reason why we have this campaign against Gables Residential is because we know that it is not going to be without that public pressure, that it is not without public pressure that they are going to really want to come to the table and work with us. And and we have done a lot of work when we have done these sort of campaigns in Austin to also educate consumers about these issues, and consumers say that they would much rather rent properties from developers, knowing that the workers who have built those properties have had basic standards met.
Yeah, and I agree with that. And the problem is most people give absolutely no thought or concern about the people that are out there building these projects. They have no clue what it's like out on a construction site, and don't want to. It's like they don't want to be involved in anything that might offend their delicate sensibilities. So out of sight, out of mind, and just don't let your problems influence my life in a negative way.
Right. Thank you so much for your comments this morning. Appreciate it very much. We do have another caller. We have Ed. Is he still there? All right. Good morning, Ed.
Good morning. I hope both of you are doing well.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
I just want to say that I look forward to the rally this morning. I think it's important that people come out, that people lift up their voices, that they stand in solidarity with the workers. I also would respond to the last caller who made some good points, I think, but the OSHA reality continued to surface. Truth is that with budget cuts, very few contractors put much worry into OSHA because OSHA is so diminished and the responsibilities are so large. Seldom, unless there is any kind of accident, do you get anything other than an investigation after the fact. And that's just a sad reality. So construction people and subcontractors do mostly what they want, I know our governor loves to tout Texas, but the truth is that business in Texas and the construction industry certainly reflects that. Mostly involves the many working for the least amount of money possible, taking the greatest amount of risk possible to benefit the fewest number of citizens possible. And that's sad, but that is true. And unless there is some two things, unless there's that built-in criteria that Stephanie was talking about quite eloquently, so that everybody's using the same criteria in the bidding process, and we continue to get workers organized so they can stand up and find their voices and be empowered, then it's going to take a long, hard time to get that pushed back so that workers can have some dignity, wages, and be guaranteed some safety, acknowledging that accidents are going to happen as long as humans exist.
Right.
So I hope that people will come out today because it's a good work. It's a good thing. I got a big wedding this afternoon, but I want to do everything possible to get to the rally before I have to go do the wedding.
Is this Reverend Ed?
Yes, it is.
That would be awesome. I would love to see you.
So
great. All right. Well, thank you. Thank you so much. And you're right. Just it's all about the human rights.
It is. Yeah, thank you so much for calling. And I really hope to see you. Thank you so much for saying that you're going to try to come out. Again, it's going to be at 11 a.m. at Cole Park, 4000 Cole Avenue. And I also think, that you really brought up a really great point in terms of OSHA and the capacity of OSHA at this time. OSHA does what it can, but it's under-resourced, and
we can thank George W. for that.
and we need to think too, how can we prevent accidents before they happen? And so, for instance, how can we make sure that workers on Gable sites, for instance, or workers working in construction in Texas receive OSHA training, basic OSHA training about how they can make sure that they protect themselves on the job and make sure that they protect their coworkers on the job. OSHA provides this 10-hour training class for construction workers. They recommend that all construction workers receive this training. And
it's pretty basic training.
Pretty basic. And one of the things that we ask for developers to agree to when we sign these agreements with them is to agree that all workers who will be building their sites will receive this basic training. I also think too that we need to go back to the question of workers' compensation. We Workers Defense Project did a statewide survey that we published back in 2013, in which we interviewed over close to 1,500 workers across the state, 1,500 construction workers across the state. Only 40% said that they had workers' compensation coverage. And we, based on the surveys that we did of those workers, we think about 1 out of every 4 of that 40% were actually workers who are misclassified, meaning that at this moment they're probably working thinking that they have workers' comp coverage when they really don't. And so workers' comp doesn't just help you get medical services that you need if an injury should happen, or help make sure that you're able to continue to pay your bills, that your family's able to continue to get by if you get injured on the job. But it also is a huge incentive for employers in the industry to prevent accidents from happening.
Yeah, like with training and stuff. Because if it's very frustrating, because it is not a requirement in the state of Texas for employers to provide workers' comp insurance. And if somebody gets hurt on the job and they send you to the emergency room, you don't have workers' comp, you don't have insurance. So guess who ends up paying for it, folks? We do.
We
taxpayers.
Yeah, in that statewide study that I mentioned, we found that 1 out of every 5 workers surveyed had been injured on the job requiring medical attention.
Wow. We'll be right back. Ain't no saving you from the blue collar blues. You got it. And it's great. I like being a blue collar worker. It's pretty cool. I don't want to wear a suit and tie every day. Oh, gross. I had a job that I had to dress up every day. And I dress up almost every day. If I have meetings, I'm always dressed up. You know, you're not going to see me in shorts and a T-shirt like you will on the weekends. But, blue-collar jobs is what built this country. It's what builds our cars. It's what builds our houses and repairs our plumbing and keeps our phones working and gives us U-verse. I mean, it's blue-collar blues. But these folks in the construction industry, here in Texas especially, are not getting a fair deal for the most part. On Gable's residential properties, they're the developer, and they do not hold their subcontractors accountable for providing a safe working environment. And we feel it's time to stop. I know that organized labor is behind this 100%. AFL-CIO has reached out to many community groups and groups such as Workers Defense Project, Texas Organizing Project, Planned Parenthood, you name it. I mean, we have to work together to make a difference. Labor cannot do it by themselves. Community organizations cannot do it by themselves. We all have to do this together. And that means you folks out there too. And I understand if you can't get out and go to a rally, you can do something. Believe me, we always have phone banks for one thing or another. There's always something you can do. Always.
So we've been talking about the Build It Better Gables campaign that Workers Defense Project launched back in February, and we actually have a move-on petition urging Gables to sign a Better Builder agreement with us, and you can sign that petition if you go to our Facebook page.
Cool.
So just look up Workers Defense Project on Facebook, and you'll see a way to sign that petition, and it means a lot. We've heard through the grapevine that a lot of other developers in Texas are looking to this campaign. They're very curious to see what Gables will choose to do, and we really think that if Gables does sign an agreement with us, then other developers will follow suit.
So they're a big one.
And this is really, it's about going to, like we said, going to the top of the chain and asking developers like Gables to take responsibility for the industry and join us in improving conditions for construction workers throughout Texas.
That's
so it's a very exciting moment.
It is very exciting. 972-647-1893. Our rally today will begin at 11 a.m. at Cole Park, which is at 4000 Cole Avenue. We've got some great speakers going to be there. Lots of folks rallying for workers.
And so, Bonnie, I haven't told you this yet, but I actually had a chance to sit down with a representative from Gables this past week.
You did?
In Austin, to talk a little bit more about our Better Builder program and the different conditions that we would want or hope for in agreement with them. And I would say that we've had some productive conversations so far. I think they definitely, at least the representative that I've been in touch with, shares our vision of really what's broken in the construction industry,
Cool.
which is really exciting. But we've sat down with folks in Austin. This is a statewide campaign. We have yet to hear anything from representatives from Gables in Dallas, or really representatives from Gables who have the authority to talk about these conversations on a statewide level. So we're hoping that after the event today, Gables will really see that this is a statewide campaign and
feel some pressure.
Know that we have a lot of folks behind us, and really consider meeting with us, signing an agreement with us.
Yeah, because I hear a lot of folks won't cross a picket line, and I'll bet we could manage to throw up a picket line around that job site. I'm just saying, not to put any pressure on anybody, but picket lines do work, because lots of folks won't cross picket lines. Picket line around the old job site, that couldn't hurt.
Really, we're just inviting Gables to do
the right
right
thing.
thing.
It's not hard. It's not, I got to say one thing about something that happened this past week. It's just been burning a hole in me. Eric Cantor lost his seat in Virginia.
That's been all over the news.
I know, and the polls showed he wasn't Jewish enough, or he was too Jewish. I'm sorry, he was too Jewish. And the guy that has been elected or has won the primary and will go up against a Democrat in the fall, he wants to get back to Christian capitalism. Okay? Even Ranger Rita said, whoa, what is Christian capitalism? Do you have any idea, Stephanie?
I hope that it would mean something like fair wages and
I don't think
safe
that's what it
working
means.
conditions.
I don't think that's what it means.
Did Jesus not want workers to receive fair wages or be safe on the job?
Yeah, he did, and I keep reflecting back on that story.
Wasn't Jesus a carpenter?
Yeah, that's the other thing.
Didn't Jesus work in construction?
Yeah, Jesus was a carpenter. Moses was a builder. A great community organizer. I'm totally blown away by this phrase because it doesn't have anything to do with being Christian. It has everything to do with money. And I go back to the part in the Bible with Jesus overturning the moneylenders' tables in the temple. Come on, baby, let's go. I think it's time we turned over some moneylenders' tables. I love it that the government is going after these bankers. Finally, they're going to have to pay some pretty hefty fines. Unfortunately, nobody's going to jail yet. But, this is all part of the Walmart model of our country that's being forced on us. Low wages, poor working conditions, slave labor. We have a young lady on who she's a waitress. And it really almost is slavery because you have enough money to keep a roof over your head and put groceries on the table. That's it. So really, what difference is it from slavery?
We found that over 50% of construction workers in Texas are earning poverty level wages.
With one of the hardest, most dangerous jobs on the planet.
In an industry that is booming.
Yeah.
In Texas.
Yes.
So, and it comes down to questions of human dignity and questions of responsibility.
And human rights.
So who has responsibility to make sure that workers have their basic needs met, to make sure that workers receive enough to care for their families, the developers
have that
job.
Yeah, and I believe the developers have that responsibility to hold their subcontractors to a higher level. Mm-hmm. And I say it all the time, it is not all about the money. We have to, at the expense of what are you earning that money? Several months ago, we had a young lady that was killed, worked for AT&T. She was a new employee. She worked a 17-hour day. She was driving home to where she lived, to her parents, and she fell asleep about 2,500 feet from her front door and flipped her car and was killed.
Oh, wow.
That is abuse. You cannot work 17 hours in a day and then drive home safely. And, after this happened, I started talking to my guys, and they're like, hey, it happens all the time. I'm like, what? Yeah, man, we work, 12, 14, 15 hours, and we got to drive home. And no. So we're pushing very hard nationwide to get AT&T to adopt a policy, and we're going to call it the Brittany Rule, since that was the young lady that died. And at 9 p.m., no matter how many hours you worked, or what's left to do on the job, at 9 p.m. you're done. You go back to the garage and you go home. Or go home if you're home-based. But it's not safe. I don't want you in my house after 9 o'clock. And you shouldn't either. We can't expect these people to work. And let's all bear in mind, these job creators, are not creating jobs. There was a huge article about AT&T a few weeks ago, a couple of weeks ago in the paper about how it started out and broke up and put back together again. And the one thing that was missing in the article was the employees. They have laid off, AT&T's laid off 20,000 employees in the last 5 years, and we're still doing as much as we were before and more. Construction workers, same thing.
I think it was the Reverend Ed who was talking when he called in about the Texas miracle and how often people are talking about the Texas miracle. But we know that for most working families in this state, the Texas miracle has actually been a nightmare, because even though supposedly all of these big companies and all of these jobs have poured into the state, what we see are more people earning poverty level wages.
Yep.
More people having no career path in their employment. So we really need to demand that when people commit to coming to Texas, building in Texas, that they're also committed to investing in Texas and the people of Texas.
And you told me something interesting. You guys, Apple, is actually going to be building a very large facility north of Austin. And Apple has signed on to provide a safe working environment.
So they have agreed to, they haven't, I should be clear, they haven't signed an agreement with us through this program, but they have agreed to certain Better Builder standards. So right now on that site in Austin, they have a $12 minimum wage or living wage floor for all workers on that site. There's required OSHA 10 training for all workers on that site, required workers' comp for all workers on that site, and that was through a lot of advocacy that Workers' Defense Project and our members did at City Hall in Austin. So, people should know, people talk about the Texas Enterprise Fund. That's
a lot of money.
Perry's program to bring big businesses into the state. In order to access that funding, you need to apply for local economic incentive dollars as well. And so we've said in Austin is city council, if you're going to give this money away, if you're going to give our tax dollars away to these businesses, we want to make sure that certain basic standards are met. And so a lot of the standards that we talk about through our Better Builder program, we've gotten attached to the economic incentive program in Austin.
So how do we get that? How do we get that started here in Dallas?
We're going to start a campaign. Let's do it.
All right, come on, man. I got the connections down at City Hall. I'm not kidding.
We would like to pass a similar policy here as well, and we look forward to working with labor to do that.
Excellent. Excellent.
And speaking of just local policies, another thing that we don't have in Dallas that we really would like to see, that we want to start fighting for this summer, is we don't have a rest break ordinance here. So OSHA requires water on the job,
right.
But there is no legal requirement that you have to let your workers take a break
to actually drink that water.
And so what we know that 1 in 3 construction workers in Dallas are not getting any sort of a rest break during the day outside of their lunch period. So just imagine guys who are doing roofing in the middle of the summer
without water. Oh my God. I mean, we've stressed a couple years ago the heat-related illnesses are so very detrimental to your health. I mean, it can actually cause brain damage and death. And our guys, we have these little temperature cards that the guys can actually wear on their lanyard with their badges, and it tells them what the temperature is, and they need to get out of it. You've got a guy in an attic installing UVerse, and it's 105 outside. It's 140 in that attic. He cannot be expected to be in that attic longer than about 15 minutes before he has to come down, get a drink, and take a break.
And so some of our members who have worked on gable sites in Austin have reported that they were denied those legally mandated rest breaks when they were doing that work on the gable site.
Let me, Adam.
That their subcontractors didn't let them take a break.
We should probably take some of these executives and take them out and just, hey, they don't even have to work. Just stick them in the sun. Just set them in the sun for a few hours with no water and no break and see how they feel. You know, how's it feel to be standing out here? Now think about what they're doing up there on that roof where it's even hotter. Mm-hmm. You know, you cannot do this to people. You just can't. You can't do it to anything, any living sentient being, an animal or a person.
And this is, you know, it goes back to what we were talking about earlier about how basic our asks are in terms of this agreement. First off, we want you to do a better job ensuring that your subcontractors are following the law.
Yep.
Just following the law, following overtime law, like following a law that's been on the books since the 1930s, where if workers are working on your site 60 hours a week,
you gotta pay them.
Your subcontractors need to pay them overtime, and you need to make sure that your subcontractors are doing that.
Doing the right thing.
The rest break ordinance in Austin just requires a 10-minute break for every 4 hours of work.
Oh my gosh, that's seriously basic.
And some of our workers working on Gable sites in Austin weren't even getting those 10 minutes.
Man. Well, I hope that people will come out to this rally today at 11 o'clock. We will be at Cole Park, and that's at 4000 Cole Avenue. That's in the Uptown area. What better place to protest? That's my thing. You know, we got all excited about when they built the George W. Bush Library here. We thought we were going to have a place to protest, and then the city passed an ordinance that we can't stand on the service road with signs. And that's kind of in my opinion, it's kind of a civil/political right thing, but that's okay. That's okay, because there are ways around it. There are ways around it. We all have to, you improvise. We
really hope that you'll join us. I think it's going to be a really, really fun time.
Me too. I think it's going to be great.
11 a.m. at Cole Park.
That's right.
Asking
awesome.
Gables to build it better.
Build a better community. Yeah. Pay our people. Take care of them like you should. Do the right thing. That's all we're asking. Do the right thing. It's not rocket science. It's really not. I swear to God. It's pretty simple to just do the right thing. It's it's amazing. We shouldn't have to have a huge protest with speakers to get basic human rights for workers. We shouldn't have to do this. But since we do, you should come out and join us, because the more the merrier. Remember, there's power in numbers. We know that. The CLLI that we attended, man, I am so excited about working with everybody. I really am, because it's so nice to be with people of like mind and to see young people that are involved and really want to make a difference.
And I promise that if you come out, you will be so energized and you will be so impressed at the courage and eloquence of our members. So we hope to see you there.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much, Stephanie. I appreciate it very much.
Thank you. This has been so much fun.
Cool. See you next week, guys.
KNON 89.3 FM in Dallas and Fort Worth, the voice of the people.
Business owners, tell KNON's listeners about your business. You can put your business or event on KNON. KNON currently has space available to run announcements for you. Tell KNON's listeners about your goods, services, nightclub, concert, or event. Help keep the voice of the people on the air while putting your information on the air. KNON's been named the #1 radio station in Dallas by both the Dallas Observer and D Magazine. Put your business with Dallas's #1 station. Call now for more information at 214-828-9500, extension 227, or extension 233. For more information, go to KNON.org and click on the Run Spots on KNON page. It's a great way for your business to support community radio while letting more people know about you.